The D23 Parks panel delivered a lot of excitement for Disney fans, with updates on key projects in the works and new developments for us to look forward to.
But at the same time, Disney left out some things they could have told us that would have made the panel even more exciting.
So sit back and relax as the Disney pros take you through the things we missed hearing about at D23 and what it all could mean for Walt Disney World and beyond in the coming years.
Kicking things off on announcements we got, but were on the disappointing side, dates. Now, very general topic here, we know, but we only got dates for a few things throughout the night. Carousel of Progress coming spring 2027. Monstropolis is opening early, at least the land portion, in 2027 in Hollywood Studios. And Avengers expansion into California Adventure is coming in 2028.
Right.
Beyond that, nothing in terms of dates for anything like Cars Land, Coco, or even the Tropical Americas, which we've already been promised was to open in 2027. But no word of that. Made me think and second guessing on that.
So a lot of those dates too that we got were very, very generic. They weren't hard, firm dates. They weren't months. They were seasons. And even beyond that, with the portion of Monstropolis that's set to open early sometime next year, they didn't give us a season. It was just that it's opening early in 2027. So I don't know. I'm leaning towards later in the year, closer to November, December, at like end of fall, beginning of winter season.
Yeah, Disney traditionally likes to have things that come summertime, which would suffice with Carousel of Progress, and then later in the year to draw people back towards fall breaks, holiday breaks as well too, and get crowds going through that. So that late 2027 date, like Jen suggested, makes sense for the Welcome to Monstropolis show, the Scare Pig Pizza, Harryhausen's, and the new store in Monstropolis. Also, back to Tropical Americas, we know it's coming. Progress is being rapidly happening in the park. We can see from construction updates. The carousel, I would imagine, is probably
pretty soon.
Some point next year too. But then Indiana Jones and Encanto, unfortunately, I'm reading signs that they're probably going to be delayed into 2028.
I would definitely lean more towards the delayed end of things as well, just because of the amount of work that's going into, especially with Indiana Jones, the care to try and make it authentic. And the same with the new Encanto ride as well, just with a newer ride system to make sure that it's functioning and it's functioning well to really fully immerse you into that. They really always want to make sure they get it right before they open it up for everyone. So I'm leaning towards those, even if they need to, pushing them back a little bit. I almost wonder if some of the crews have been working a little more on Monstropolis, trying to fix that up, and then once that's set, they're going to move them over to Animal Kingdom to work on those areas in Tropical Americas.
Yeah. So we shall see. The next 3 to 5 years of the Disney parks is very exciting. We're happy with all the updates that are coming.
Very much.
We want them sooner than later. We're a little greedy in that,
Yes.
but we know it takes time to get to all of these. Now, one of the things we mentioned in here is Villains Land. We got a little bit of announcements on this, specifically what the rides are. We'll talk more about that in a second. No date here, but also Villains Land left us wanting more because there's some stuff we didn't hear about with this one.
Right. So as you mentioned, Villains Land, we did get really great details on those 2 new rides, full backstory for the land itself even, which is going to be, I think, blowing it out of the water. I think it's going to really take it in an entirely different direction.
It's funny you say that because it is a well that breaks from
It's true,
a bad
blowing
wind.
out of the water. But we didn't get, not just dates, we didn't get details on anything else that's going to be in the land. Anything about character meet and greets, if there's potentially any of those with villains, which I think would be really cool.
Yeah.
Because you rarely get those except at Mickey's Not So Scary. There's no details on any places where you can go shopping for your merch, for all your favorite villains merch. There's no details on any restaurants or any other shows or other attractions. All of that is noticeably missing, and Disney typically does do when they open a small new little land, they typically do a 2 attraction, at least 1 restaurant and 1 merchandise location. So I'm definitely eager to see, as that starts to get more fully under construction and coming to fruition, what more is announced for that particular land.
Yeah, because you mentioned usually for small lands, it's 1 ride, a shop, another form of entertainment, like a show generally, kind of like what we're going with Monstropolis. But Villains Land, they're going all out with this. We already know the two premier rides, the coaster and the dark ride underneath the Evil Queen's castle. I would expect to see we're going to have a show element of some sort, whether it be like a small interactive thing, or it could be a fully fledged out theater show, similar to what we have at the Villains show at Hollywood Studios. Not suggesting that's going to move, but something like that. Then for dining, we have to have a quick service here or two, and there has to be some table service restaurant here. Where I have to start thinking about what are going to be the characters that are going to be involved with this too, because Hades would be a very good example of this, Jafar, Ursula. We've even seen some things that talk about Madame Mim coming into this one. If you aren't sure about who Madame Mim is, maybe go watch Sword in the Stone and Black Cauldron and movies like that to get a deeper lore of your Disney villains. So we'll see what is coming over the next few years until this land opens. We already mentioned there's no date. I would expect that this is going to be the centerpiece of Walt Disney World's 60th anniversary in 2031. So we're probably still at least 5 years out from this one.
Well, in addition to that, you're adding to Magic Kingdom, which is one of the busiest parks that they have. So when you're looking at trying to add space, you're then looking at adding numbers of people and then trying to make sure they all have something that they can do, places that they can go. So clearly we know it's not just going to be those two attractions. But the question really, the forefront of our minds is, what else and how much else are you going to have in this area? So very excited to see that in the next few years.
Yes. Staying in Magic Kingdom for our next disappointing update we did not receive, we're going to move from Frontierland side of things over to Tomorrowland. Now, Disneyland got their most wanted fan announcement at the D23 panel this year, where their Tomorrowland is going to get redone. And we reacted to that, so if you haven't gone and watched our D23 recap video on the fan-centered announcements and how that changes the Disney Parks future, make sure you go watch that one right after this one so you can get a full idea of everything that came out of D23. But back to Disney World's Tomorrowland. This is one that is getting slight updates over the last couple of years. Buzz Lightyear, Carousel of Progress is coming, so we're seeing work done here. But the biggest thing that we were anticipating coming out of D23 that there was no word on at all was Disney World's Space Mountain.
Now with this, if you haven't seen before anything from anywhere, there was talk on the internet all over about the track being relayed, about the system itself being completely shut down and completely reworked to better new standards, new safety standards for the ride system itself. There was some talk of the exterior being changed, which we were really hoping was not going to be the case. I'm hoping that still remains the same. But there were all kinds of different rumors flying around about Space Mountain at Disney World getting some changes and to what degree those changes would be. None of those were announced during this D23 Expo, which personally for me, I was perfectly fine with. I would be very upset if Space Mountain was messed with. I like the way it is. I'm okay if they relay a track so it's not quite as rough. As we get older, that gets more difficult.
The back pain sets in a little bit more as we are into our 30s now.
Yes, but I really liked that it was not mentioned, at least in a full change way. Now, that doesn't mean that it won't be in the future. It also comes to bring to mind a few other things in Tomorrowland that we had talked about before that weren't touched at all either, that are noticeably getting some wear and tear and might need to be updated, altered, or changed as well. One of those being Stitch's Great Escape. Stitch's Great Escape has been closed for years. That building itself has been used for a variety of different things. The one we typically see it for is meeting Elvis Stitch at Mickey's Not So Scary, and that's one of our favorite meet and greets. But I feel like you can see him in other locations and still be able to repurpose this space for something that can be just absolutely outstanding and be able to take us into the future.
This location was rumored to be getting a Wreck-It Ralph attraction so many years ago. I think COVID probably disturbed some of those plans for that. And now Wreck-It Ralph is going over into one of the international parks. I don't want a Wreck-It Ralph attraction. I like that franchise. I just don't think it fits in Tomorrowland necessarily. But it is time that they touch into this area and repurpose it for something. I would imagine they're probably going to have to take some of the shops area as well out too. Just open up the volume that you have to fill in there and put in something new. Across the way from Stitch's Great Escape, where that was, Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor. I talked about this in one of our previous videos about how I think this one definitely has an expiration date on it. We just don't know when it is yet. We know that the Monstropolis show is not Laugh Floor. It's not going to just move over from Magic Kingdom to Hollywood Studios. So eventually that one's probably going to have to go down and be replaced with some different element that goes into that area.
Now, something else that we didn't mention before is even further back than Wreck-It Ralph, a lot of people had been crying for Wall-E to be put into this area. As old as Wall-E still is, I think it's very, very relevant and would be extremely perfect for at least some portion of Tomorrowland. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, you would really have to rework some of those areas, though, because I don't think Wall-E really interprets well as a show.
Correct.
Although we have seen, I believe it's on the Adventure, the newest cruise ship, Wall-E has a show on there about his love story with him and Eve. So we'll see if maybe that does kind of play into the parks a little bit, but I want more a ride-through attraction with him. Now, continuing into Tomorrowland, we've got one more area we want to hit, and that's the Tomorrowland Speedway. This attraction has been at Disney World for as long as we can remember, growing up, smelling the smells of those cars, not really being a pleasant smell, but it's one you identify with as soon as you pass it. Disneyland's Autopia is getting electric cars next year because of a state law in California. So if they get electric cars, I'm fine with that. But also, would not hate if they completely get rid of it and add something new here.
See, I personally like the Tomorrowland Speedway. I would prefer to see the electric cars, but I think for the kids especially, since they don't actually get to drive, for the rest of us, being stuck on a track is kind of agonizing and painful because then you keep bumping the track back and forth. But for the kids, it's so much fun to have that freedom, even if you're on a track, that little bit of freedom to try your hand at driving and to get your little driver's license outside of it. So I think for me, the best option of doing this would be just to make those electric cars. At the holidays, they do like lights around this attraction, so it's like drive-through lights with your family, and I think that's really cool and special. So I think just making this electric cars would be the best way to go. I know we differ in that, but that's how I'm sure everyone else on the internet is going to differ on that too. There's one other thing too here in Tomorrowland that is kind of interconnected to all of these different attractions, and that's the People Mover. So Disneyland is getting an update with their Tomorrowland. We don't know if they're getting their People Mover back. We're hopeful.
I would suspect that they are. I think
Hopefully.
Disneyland fans would be very upset if they get this update and no People Mover back.
Yes. But if that were to be the case, would Disney World get an update to the People Mover as well? We hopefully, if you've been around long enough, you'll remember after the pandemic, our People Mover was down for the longest time.
About 2 years that it was down and finally reopened.
And then it took them forever to be able to get it reopened because every time they tried to reopen it, something would happen and it would smoke out from under it and it would just suddenly stop. And there were lots of issues because it's constantly running and they really needed to update it. So if Space Mountain were to go down for a retrack even, or some other portions of the building where they have to go through the building, would this shut down and also get an update as well?
I would think that it probably will eventually, whenever Space Mountain does have work done on it in some form, get some updated scenes. The narration has already changed a little bit with the update to Carousel of Progress. I think you could change that again and get a new update to Orac 5 as he's known on there. So we'll see what Tomorrowland has in store. It's one great big beautiful tomorrow or more away at this point, but we'll keep our eyes on Tomorrowland and see how that classic area of Disney World gets some updates in the future.
So moving from one park that's got an area dedicated to the future to an entire park that is dedicated to the entire future, and we're going to be moving to Epcot. Now, Epcot, we did get a lot of really, really exciting news that we are very, very much looking forward to. However, there were a few things that are still lacking as we're getting close to another big milestone anniversary for Epcot.
Yeah, the 50th anniversary comes in 2032, and yes, that is 6 years away, but
Not
that's
long.
only 6 years away. You're going to do this, and it's going to be here. So there are still areas of Epcot that need to be fully fledged out
Yeah.
prior to that date or shortly thereafter. There are going to be things coming from the 50th anniversary. We're looking at things like in Future World, the Wonders of Life Pavilion. This one has sat vacant, just like Stitch's Great Escape we talked about, for quite some time. It was used as the festival center for when they had cooking demonstrations, which, hey, Disney, bring those back.
They were awesome.
While we're talking about it.
Yeah.
And then prior to that, it was a pavilion focused on the human body and human health, with things like Cranium Command and Body Wars in there. It makes too much sense for Inside Out to go into that building,
Yes.
so that should be coming sooner than later. Then moving over into World Showcase, there's a couple other things you could do there, maybe another country, or even a festival that you can add to the lineup too.
Now, my vote earlier was on a festival. There's a perfect timing with them shortening the Flower and Garden Festival and shortening Food and Wine on the other end, where you could have a short little summertime festival, kind of like their Cool Kid Summers that's just built in as part of that to come and bring people in and celebrate their summer break over in Epcot. And I don't know exactly what that would look like. It would probably be something with like summer and Slash and like all the fresh ingredients. Like think about all the fresh, delicious watermelon. That's what my mind automatically goes to. I have no clue what it would be. But that's for another time to just Imagineer with us and see what there could be.
And then for another country in Epcot, this has been a long-standing rumor for decades. And as far as what we know, we were about this close to getting Brazil announced at the 2019 D23 Expo. And then it didn't happen, and silence has kind of echoed from that. So I think Brazil is always on the table, Greece, maybe a few others. We'll see what comes of Epcot in the future. 50th anniversary generally could also mean the return of some things. Maybe a parade that is beloved in the Disney adult fandom, or even the original Illuminations coming back. But we're going to save some of our more fleshed out ideas, because we are going to do a full dive into what we think Epcot could look like in 2032 for that 50th anniversary. So make sure you like this video, subscribe, and set that bell for notifications whenever that video does come out, so we can take a deep dive into the Future World, World Showcase, and beyond. Sticking quickly with Epcot, one last thing that could come from this area that we didn't hear any rumblings about, that was a complete wild card to whether or not
Absolutely.
we would. A new hotel at Disney World. Now, this was one of the wild card predictions I had myself when we did our predictions video prior to the Ultimate Fan event. The rumors have been either an Epcot entrance area hotel or a Magic Kingdom entrance area hotel. So Epcot would probably sit somewhere between the Land and the Seas Pavilion. Magic Kingdoms would be over by Adventureland, kind of going in that area where there is space back there beyond Pirates of the Caribbean. No word has come of any of these, but Lakeshore Lodge does open next year, so probably thinking the next one's coming soon.
They do also try to make sure that most of their construction projects kind of line up one after another, not too many crossing over for too long, so they don't stretch themselves super thin either. So when we're looking at Lakeshore Lodge starting to open soon, and Monstropolis, or most of Monstropolis, opening soon, and then hopefully them finishing up some things in Tropical Americas, we're seeing a lot of construction projects starting to wrap up. I know there's still a few going on, but there's not as many that they've got their hands into, so they might be more willing to consider additional projects like a new resort or like updating resorts. A lot of the resorts that we've seen lately have been going through refurbishments or taking parts of them and updating them to become part of DVC wings. so that they're available for use of DVC points as well.
Yeah.
So we could be looking at even just refurbs of current resorts for those purposes as well.
I know Kidani Village, one of the DVC resorts at Animal Kingdom Lodge, is going through an extensive refurbishment of its lobby. Actually, their entire lobby is going to be shut down at some point later this year. For that, Art of Animation is getting new rooms, so they are touching on current ones. Maybe they go through and retheme something. Who knows? I think there's credence in believing that there could be an Epcot area hotel, but also with Magic Kingdom going through its largest expansion ever, it makes sense to put another hotel there because that's where people want to be at. And you can theme it to Adventureland, which is always fun theming.
That would be a unique theming too, because that's not something you have. Thinking about just those Magic Kingdom resorts along the monorail loop, or even Wilderness Lodge off the monorail loop, that Adventureland theming, it's not really in any of those resorts.
Closest would be
new.
Polynesian.
Right, but not totally the same.
Yeah, slightly different. You can do one that's a little bit more into the adventure pirates kind of theme within that. So we'll see when that next hotel comes. Probably would think by the end of the decade, by 2030,
Yes.
but we'll keep our eyes and ears peeled for when Disney announces that next one.
So looking towards Animal Kingdom, there's a lot of really exciting announcements that came out of Animal Kingdom, updates to the construction, and we are very much looking forward to this area as soon as it opens. We're also looking forward to the refurbishment of Disco Yeti so that he can start swiping at you again as you try to exit Expedition Everest. However, keep in mind, we didn't get a date for the Yeti to be fixed, and we didn't get a date for Tropical Americas. So we almost wonder, with all of this, and this will be leading to the thing that's most notably missing, we almost wonder if this next idea that we're going to propose will come after Tropical Americas has finished, when it's open, maybe closing Expedition Everest, which would leave this whole backside of Animal Kingdom pretty much empty unless you have a show.
This was my bold prediction of what was coming at Disney's D23 panel. A new nighttime show at Animal Kingdom to make that a full day park again. We still have not heard any word that, beyond an opening date for Tropical Americas, is this going to keep the park open at night?
Right.
It has to. Animal Kingdom, there's too much to do in that park once Tropical Americas opened to keep it closing at 5 or 6 o'clock. It needs to be a 9 o'clock close every night. Even if you close the safari down early still.
Right.
That's fine.
The animals still do need that time away from humans,
Yes.
so just please do keep that in mind.
I understand that.
We all need a little bit of time away from other humans.
But, like Jen said, open Tropical Americas some point next year, 2028. Close Everest down. At that same time, you're going to have no reason to go to that very back portion of the park. Bring a nighttime show there. Disney, we have the plan mapped out for you.
Please take it.
We know you're probably watching. Send us a message if you want some input in this, because we know that eventually this has to fill out that theater and figure out some show that comes. Animal Kingdom is Jen's favorite park. I mean, she's wearing the Animal Kingdom shirt now. I love going there, except when it's the dead of summer and it's 10,000 degrees hotter there than anywhere else in the world. But we want more in that park. We want more experiences, not just attractions, but shows, entertainment, things like that.
I think this is definitely going to be something that, if it's considered, if it's added back in, would also help not only to expand that park to a full day park for those of us who like to make it a full day park, but for those who don't like to keep it a full day park and just prefer their half day, they could take that middle of the day out to go back to the hotel and rest, because it does get really hot in Animal Kingdom in the middle of the day. Just with all the foliage and the humidity already, it keeps it like 10 degrees above the humidity level temperature than any of the other parks. So it would allow a lot of guests to take that time out, go back to the room, cool off, swim maybe, and then come back and enjoy it in the cooler evening hours, kind of like that relief you feel in Magic Kingdom when the sun starts going down. And then you'd be able to sit by the water and watch a nighttime show, and I think that would really bring some life back into the park. You'd get to be able to explore Pandora in all of its phosphorescent glory, and I think that would really, really be cool. And then you've got the Tree of Life Awakening show. So you're already starting to see a few other things that are happening in Animal Kingdom that they're trying to revive, and I think this would kind of, you have one in one side of the park, one in the center, and this would kind of pull on that in the other section of the park as well.
Yeah, it's just like Hollywood Studios, where you have to make sure all your thrill rides you have there are spaced out evenly. Animal Kingdom's going to need a reason for you to go here, here, and here
all around
in that park. This was our most disappointing thing we did not hear about by far, just because we knew these things are coming and there needs to be more. Destination D23 is at Walt Disney World fall of 2027. It's always the event that takes place every other year in between the D23 Expos, or Ultimate Fan Events as they're known now. I would not be surprised if we learn the opening time frame for Tropical Americas at that event and we get the nighttime show and nighttime hours announcement there. I'm going to go ahead and throw that prediction out now. I think that will happen.
And that'll just coincide, like we said, with the closing of Everest and the opening of Tropical Americas to make sure that when you close a major attraction that pulls so many people, you have another area that's able to pull all those people back into it, so you're not just losing guests left and right. I think that would just make sense. One area opens, one area closes down, but then you're able to maintain throughout the night with a show. So you're hopefully not losing as many.
Yeah, so we shall see what else comes of Animal
Fingers
Kingdom.
crossed.
A lot of progress is going to be made in that park over the next year or so, and we're going to keep our eyes on that to see what else may be coming.
So that's going to do it for our most missed announcements during the D23 Expo or Ultimate Fan event for this session at least. There were a lot of really good announcements. Again, a lot of things that we felt were really missed, kind of left us, some of them, disappointed. Not that we weren't extremely excited about some of the announcements that were made. Just there were a few that we feel like probably should have been announced, and we missed the mark on that. So hopefully in the coming years, we'll see some of those announcements, or at least some additional ones.
Yes, some of the other things we could have talked about that come to mind. Avatar at Disney California Adventure, is that still happening? A new ride at Disneyland Paris. They're getting an update to Space Mountain, but nothing new there. And I'm sure maybe there's something that you were hoping for that would have been announced that we didn't hear about. If there is and we didn't talk about it, or you agree with some of our things we did discuss, let us know in the comments and we'll have a conversation with you there. We are, though, still very excited.
Very much.
1 week from the expo. Still can't get over the moon that Figment and the Dreamfinder are back. The Yeti's getting fixed. All those things that are so fan-centered at Disney. We're so excited about what this means for the future of the parks and what else maybe we get that we've been asking for so long. So, to continue seeing any of those updates that come, our thoughts on it, make sure you subscribe to the Disney Pros as we have more videos coming out on D23 and beyond. And until then, that's Jen, I'm Zach. Thanks for watching tonight, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.